Hi, this is Greg Hildebrandt, and you're listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast.
Hello everybody, my name is Ian Taylor and welcome to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast, brought to you by the Marvel Cards Fan Collective. You can find our two groups on Facebook, details of which are at the end of this podcast, so come and check us out. With me as always is my co-pilot in all things Marvel cards, the Jarvis, Pepper and Happy to my Tony Stark, Norrin Rad.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, I love you 3000. Oh, that's actually an appropriate opening. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I saw Spider-Man Far From Home.
You
Yes.
did? Nice.
I did. Have you seen it?
I have seen it, so we can talk about it.
Okay. Well, we can talk about it. It's fairly fresh.
Fresh.
All I'm going to say is, if you don't want to hear anything about Spider-Man Far From Home, i.e. if you've not seen it and you don't want any spoilers, then just kind of skip ahead a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it.
Mm-hmm.
So spoilers await. What can I say about it? I'm not sure how much of this would be spoiler, actually. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun.
I thought it was a cracking little film. Yeah, it was good energy to it, nice and light. It felt different to the other MCU movies in its tone and its kind of, playfulness, all that Ramones music and that kind of high school vibe going on. But I thought Mysterio was absolutely brilliant.
I thought Mysterio was awesome. My favorite part, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, for me in the movie, I feel like, the parts of the movie that I want, the movie felt more like, because there's a huge surprise and reveal that's separate from how the movie is marketed. But it's a fun reveal. It's awesome. All that kind of good stuff. The parts that I really, really enjoyed that I thought were crafted very well were the parts where you see Mysterio in full force, where you have the illusions and you have that montage, and it felt like for me, a lot cleaner digital segment than the Doctor Strange segment with the multi. You know what I mean? Like the Mysterio one felt like a little cleaner. It felt more directive. It felt not directive. It felt more direct and where it was trying to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun movie. It was a fun movie. It's this Spider-Man's definitely better than the previous Spider-Mans, other than Homecoming. But it's still following the same kind of atmosphere and tone, which I really like.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's great, and it's fun to see Jon Favreau having fun with Happy and Nick.
Jon Favreau is so great.
Of course, Samuel L. Jackson just cheering off the scenery left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
So no, I enjoyed it. Cracking it.
I had fun with it. Yeah, too. I liked it.
So where are we? So I've got no idea what episode this is, so I'm not going to say, which is probably good.
Yes,
as we spoke about on the Simone episode, we frequently say what number it is, but it's not actually released in order. So we end up having to edit and do crazy things.
Crazy things to get to work.
Crazy things. So there's an awful lot happening at the moment in terms of releases. All from Upper Deck, of course, because they have the current Marvel license.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking mainly about the fact that we've just had Flair drop. We've had Marvel Cinematic Universe 10th anniversary set, which has just hit EPAX very shortly after the physical release, actually. And Marvel,
really? I was wondering about that.
Yeah, that was quite a short window. Not sure how much of this is true, whether it's just my perception of it. It seems to be quite a short window, if it doesn't seem to be selling maybe quite as well. Possibly.
I wonder.
Don't know.
I would hope those windows get shorter and shorter so that when people, because no one has access to buying these boxes, it's extremely difficult to find a place that
they make it
is
difficult,
licensed.
Unless you want to ship a load from
Dave and Adams or Blowout or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, unless you want to ship a load from where are we? Dave and Adams or Steel City or something like that. Not everyone's got the ability to do that. Yeah.
No, they don't.
Yeah, whatever. Or wherever the case may come from.
Yeah.
you like what I did there? That was good. Um,
That was nice.
is it kind of
No.
too much in a short window? Because there's barely a month between some of these big releases.
I don't, it just depends. I don't know. I mean, I feel like for me, there are two different audiences when it comes to people who are looking to buy the original art cards like Flair and people who are looking to get the movie MCU cards.
Mm.
I don't know. It feels like they're very clear lines there. Not that people don't double dip. I'm sure they do.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think there's anything on Upper Deck EPACs right now that's taking the focus from anything else, right? Everything else in the Marvel section has been there for quite a while. I think this is like the only really new thing that's on EPAC
You
from
mean
Marvel right
cinematic?
now. Cinematic, yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? I
yeah.
don't think there's anything else. Plus, you have Marvel Weekly. We still have to
Marvel
finish that
Weekly.
off.
Oh yeah.
So, you're going to be buying packs of Cinematic and Marvel Weekly if that's what people are going to be
We're
doing.
only a third of the way through Marvel Weekly.
How is that even
Help
possible?
me. Help
That's
me.
crazy to me. Yeah, man, you're going all in. They keep getting you.
I kind of, yeah. It's good.
Yeah,
I'm
you've
enjoying
already
it.
decided, man. You've already
It's
decided.
good.
Don't
I'm
lie.
in. I'm
You
in. I'm
can't
just
get that
annoyed
many
with myself.
negatives and
Yeah.
then not go all the way.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
So
crazy.
let's talk about that since you brought it up.
Yeah, sorry,
So
I did.
so we've just finished the third 4 week cycle. So we've had 12 weeks
Yeah.
out of the 36 because it's going until the end of the year, the end of 2019. Third 4 week cycle, which is Captain America. So as I think we mentioned on a previous episode, on 1 week, I think I bought 10 packs because I was covering someone on a trade. So I bought more than I normally bought buy 5 or 6, just to guarantee I get the cards that I want, because collation isn't always perfect on the Comic Clash cards. And I got 2 Captain America negatives in that 1 week, which is,
Beast.
just getting one would have been good. So anyway,
Yeah.
last week on week 12, I got a third one. I was like, what's going on? Which is good from my point of view, obviously, because
Yeah.
I managed to trade it for the Spider-Man one, the first one in the 4 week chunk. So I now have Spider-Man, which is -1, the Wolverine, which I traded the double of the previous 2 Captain America negatives I pulled, and of course I've got the Captain America one. So I'm kind of done in terms of the first 12-week chunk. I've
You're
got
full, right? You got the
yeah.
full set as of now.
I have, yes, I have.
Wow.
But I think what's driving people crazy is that everyone's cottoned on to the fact, and Upper Deck have kept this kind of low down in the copy, is that if you do the whole thing, there is a sketch card achievement. So it's selling out faster and faster, and last week was less than 5 minutes.
A sketch card achievement. Who's the
Yeah,
artist?
I think it's Mitch Ballard.
Damn, Mitch Ballard's
Although
good
they
too.
haven't. I'm hesitating.
I think you're right.
Not sure if they've said it, but he
I know there's
be
an
their
yeah.
go-to guy for their achievements. And
Well, he's been doing a lot of achievements. He did
yeah,
achievements for annual. He's been doing achievements for the Pack Wars
yeah.
thing.
What
Like,
is Pack Wars?
yeah, no idea. No idea. No idea. I know basically you're either going against someone else or the computer and you're opening up a pack, and if you do better than the other person, there's some kind of benefit to that. I'm not quite sure. It's basically like when I was a kid, they used to do this back in the day. You go up to, wherever you're buying cards, you each buy a pack, and then you kind of like pack war. All right, who gets the insert? And then, you kind of have this one off of who's getting the better card. There's really no point to that. That happened back in the day, just kids doing stupid things. But I think there's some benefits to participating in Pack War in terms of achievements. I think, if that makes any sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, you dropped out at my end
I
for
did.
some of that. Yeah,
Okay.
but I know you're recording it locally, so I'm just going to
So we
nod at
should
this
be
point.
fine.
I'm just going to nod at this
Perfect.
point and assume that I heard everything that you said.
You did. You
I
heard
did.
everything.
I heard everything. I hear all, dear. So, so we're about to dive into Marvel Weekly, week 13, which is going to be dropping tomorrow because we're recording on Sunday. And that's all good for that. Who the character will be, I don't know. The reason I brought up why the Flair and then the premiere and then the cinematic 10th was close together is because I'd seen a few people say as much. on the groups in comments that they were concerned that their wallets hadn't recovered from XYZ set. A lot of them from Masterpieces, actually. Masterpieces wasn't cheap, and a lot of people bought a lot of product for that.
A lot of
If
product.
you think about when e-packs dropped for that, it was, when was it?
11
February?
days later, it
Yeah.
was out.
No.
No.
Well, it sold out. It
Sold
came
out.
out on e-packs about 3 months after the physical release.
Yeah.
It was, I think it was February. I want to say February. It might have been March, but all I know is that it didn't last long. It sold out in 11 days.
Yep.
Interesting aside to that, I remember when Simone launched had his gallery exhibition at Metropolis in New York, as we
Yeah.
spoke about on the Simone episode. It was the only promo I saw available, physical promo out there for Marvel Masterpieces 2018. They didn't do any promo cards at all, and it was a
They never.
postcard. It was a postcard, and you could only get it at the exhibition. And on that, in the bottom right-hand corner, it said, "Coming to EPAX Winter 2018."
Hmm.
Do you remember that?
I do.
You do, because it caused quite a lot of consternation and back and forth in the group, because everyone's like scratching their heads. It's like, when's that mean? And everyone thinking, oh yeah, it's going to be December. It's going to be December. It's like, well, winter is December, January, and February. And
Yep.
someone else would say, but that's not 2018. So at one point I had to say, look, pull it back a bit. It's a nonsense phrase. Winter 2018 is a contradiction.
It really is,
yeah.
because there's no way
Yeah.
winter's not all of 2018.
Exactly, and winter straddles a year. It goes
Also,
into February, January, and February.
yeah, and also like I play a lot of like I play survival horror games and Nintendo games, and my wife and I play together and stuff like that. And sometimes
Wow.
with the releases of games, they're talking about the marketed year or the physical year. I forget. So winter and summer mean two different things, right?
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
like globally, winter, like you said, January, February. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes those are part of fiscal years, and they're really just there for like marketing purposes and also like
Yeah.
meetings and conversations with other people who are looking at the product or whatever.
Yeah. It's
So yeah,
I just find it interesting that that drove everyone absolutely nuts.
yeah, people were getting prepared, man.
People were getting prepared, and then it was like as January was ticking away, and they announced these at pretty short notice.
Yeah, they did.
They don't give you much of a lead in at all for it. I'm just looking through my emails at the moment because I know that I keep the emails where Upper Deck send out saying such and such a product is coming to EPAX. So Deadpool came out March 20th, and they released that pretty much hot on the heels of Masterpieces selling out. So Marvel Masterpieces hit EPAX. I've got Defenders hitting on the February the 13th. I've got Pack Wars. I keep getting emails from them about Pack Wars. Here we go. Marvel Masterpieces is now available on EPAC March the 6th, 2019. So it's not even in winter, technically speaking. That's spring.
That's spring.
There's not much more to say about that, really, but I do find it quite funny. It's the first time I've thought about it for a while because everyone was going absolutely bonkers because they could see pictures of that postcard promo that I'll pop in the tasting notes. And yeah.
I don't know. I think, and there's something about Upper Deck and promotion that just doesn't go together for Marvel cards. There's and not bad mouthing anyone, but I don't know. I do think the collectors are kind of left in the dark in terms of when things are going to drop and so forth, and it becomes a little frustrating of trying to figure out what the timeline is, what the timetables are, when to get excited for stuff. Because we'd like to do events leading up to things as well in the group. You know what I mean? So knowing dates would be pretty exciting.
Yeah. Listen, I've spoken to the guys on and off Upper Deck when opportunity arises. They know we're here. However, the guys that do engage with us on Facebook are often not the people who are doing the marketing for the products. So they just happen to be maybe the artist liaison people or the customer service people. It is what it is. They do things in a certain way. We're not privy to that. it is interesting, the perceptions of how it's often unknown what's coming up and what's happening. So, for example, Premiere has been moved from July to
Yes.
August, and people are still saying, well, when in August? Because it's a very real thing that, yes, you want to drop this product on us, and yes, it's very close after Flair, and people are still recovering from other financial things, be it physical or EPAC. So that's why it feels close together for people, because a lot of people who are going to buy Premiere are the same audience that
Yeah,
bought
they
Flair.
are. They're
So,
they're
like it or not, and it's in the next monthly
high-end
wage.
collectors.
Yeah,
They're the collectors who are going to drop big money to try to
yeah,
hit that sketch
especially Premiere.
jackpot. Yeah,
Premiere is not a
especially
cheap
Premiere.
product. So it is one of those things. You just kind of have to talk to us a bit more. Maybe the guys will listen, maybe they don't. But the perception I get is that people get a bit frustrated, and it's kind of like seen as, oh, that's just how they are. It's kind of
Yeah.
there is a much better customer experience that it wouldn't take an awful lot, I don't think, for them
No.
to actually turn that around. It really wouldn't.
No, people
And
are willing to do that. Look, when you have collectors investing in this kind of money, I mean,
mm,
you look at the statue community. You look at people who buy Sideshow and XM Studio statues, if anyone in the audience are those type of people. You know, there's a lot of really good promotional work that goes off on those
mm,
sites. And there is a lot of, dates do get moved around. Product is, sometimes it takes longer to produce a statue than
yeah,
usual, but they let you know and they keep you in the loop and you
hmm
feel like you're there, you're a part of it. I mean, that's kind of what happened with the Simone thing
yeah,
when he did that live, right? It just felt like we were part of the product as it came out. And we are the core audience. I mean, this is such a small community. You can't really, you're leaving a whole community in the dark, and it's not like the reach is small. It's not like the reach is too wide that you can't reach everybody.
yeah, yes. One of the things that it could well be is Marvel themselves dictating when they drop product around other Marvel stuff going on.
That is true.
When we simply don't know. It could just be that the licenses all came in a certain way. There could be that they fit in the Marvel product around their sports calendar, which is why it feels like a lot of stuff is happening in summer
Yeah.
this year. I don't know. I genuinely don't know the answers to that. And it would be great if we could just get a sense of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not that I expect any company to tell us how their business is running and how the
Not at
decisions
all.
are made, but
Yeah.
there is a way to communicate with your customers
Yeah.
and your potential customers.
Yeah.
And I just think that's lost a little bit. So that is what it is. There's a lot happening. There's a lot been happening. Marvel Flair has been out a couple of weeks now as we
It
record,
has.
and we did our preview episode. And Norrin, you got a box. And
I
you did a
did. I got a
live
box.
video opening, which I'll put on
I
the
did.
tasting notes, so
I-
folk can see Norrin's carpet if they wish.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Good. That's the last time I call your cat your carpet. Anyway, what is your cat's name? Remind me.
My cat's name is Winifred. Winnie. Is
Winnie.
what we call her. Winnie. Like
Winnie.
Winnie the Pooh.
Okay.
It wasn't after Winnie the Pooh. We should have named her something like Furiosa because she's crazy.
Yeah, she is a bit
But
cray cray.
she is a little bit cray cray and long. She's a very long cat.
Ah.
Yeah. I
And
see a lot of people. She's very long.
isn't your dog called Jonathan?
No, dog is Nicholas.
Nicholas. I knew it was a fellow's name.
It
with
is
several
Well,
vowels.
we rescued him, and he had his name before.
Okay.
He's literally the most perfect toy poodle anyone could ever ask for.
Okay.
Winnie got bigger than him. She was dying when we found her, and then now she's hardy and healthy and can take down a small village of any sort. So he's absolutely afraid of her. So that's been fun. But my office is her domain. She's actually sleeping right next to me now. She's adorable. Everyone's posting cute cat pics. You, Josh. I wish I could. I maybe have one or two. It's such a rare event. But
Yeah. My cat is Marvel Cats.
Marvel Cats.
In fact, why don't Upper Deck do that? Because seriously, when I go onto the Upper Deck e-store at the moment, e-store, I get a number of I get that there are non-sports for different people who aren't into Marvel product, but the top product they're pushing on sale at the moment is
It's the
about
canine.
dogs. Trading cards of dogs.
I mean, that must be a market, man. That's kind of crazy. Could you imagine that there's another Facebook group with their own podcasts
In a
talking
mirror
about
universe.
canine dogs
It's a mirror
in another
universe.
universe?
There's a mirror universe Norin and a mirror
Yes,
universe Ian.
obsessed with dogs.
Hello, and welcome to the Canine Dogs Trading Cards podcast.
Woof woof. So glad to be here with you
Uh,
guys.
we are not going to start that. That is a thing. Feel free to go off and do it yourself. I've registered possible domains and we'll cyber squat on them until you give me money.
Perfect.
Um,
Cornering the market there.
interesting. We will get back to talking about anything relating to the title of this podcast as soon as I have an interesting aside. So Winifred,
Winifred.
rather, is or was my grandmother's first name.
Oh wow.
My grandmother passed away when I was 13, I think, 15.
Oh.
15 in 1989. Anyway, she's long gone. God rest her soul. Um, my daughter's middle name is Winifred. So
No. Aw.
we took that because I think it's a really sweet name. In fact,
It's a beautiful name.
my grandmother's first and middle name was Winifred Lavinia.
Oh, that's such a good
How's that for an
name.
old school name? I mean, she was born in like 1901, I think, 1902. But Winifred Lavinia, isn't that wonderful?
That's beautiful. That's so poetic.
So yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
That's really awesome.
So anyway, as an aside,
Huh.
good afternoon, good evening, Grandma, wherever you may be. Hopefully,
Huh.
listening to this podcast on your cloud. Anyway, so Marvel Flair, you broke a box.
Yes, I broke a box.
What does breaking a box mean for those who might not know? Because we can't assume
That's
with
right. That
this
everyone's
podcast
in on a
that
yeah.
everyone, because I know there's guys at work who are kind of into Marvel, don't know much about cards, and who start
Yeah.
giving us a listen. So I'm going to say hello right now to John Carey. Hello,
Hey, John
John.
Kerry. Hey,
Hello,
bud.
John Carey. He's a very nice man, and he
Aw.
recently left my agency to go and work for another one just around the corner. But he's still local. I still see him from time to time. Anyway, he's been throwing us a listen and giving us some support. So thank you for that, John.
Aw.
Tell
Yeah. So
John
breaking a
what a
box.
box break is.
Box break is basically you're just opening a box that you just purchased, sealed, on camera, live recording it. And that's so if you're on YouTube and you want to see multiple product being shown, a good catch or a good phrase would be box breaking. They do this for sports. A lot of the bigger companies do it that sell these boxes. Distributors do it. So GTS, Blowout, places like that. David Adams. There's a lot of places that do actual card breaks.
Yeah.
And then with those breaks, you can actually, with those companies, just as a side note, let's say you can't access product, but you want to buy product from them, they will break the box for you on camera so you can see your own pools, and then they'll ship you the cards. I haven't done it yet. I know a few people in the group have done it, so we can always find out more details and figure out what that's like. But what I did was there's a store about 45 minutes from here. I knew people were really excited about seeing the product, so I wanted to kind of show them a first glimpse of what the product looked like. So I did it on that day. Funny enough, though, Facebook had that huge problem where the photos weren't loading.
Oh, that was that day. Yeah.
That was that exact day. So I was sitting in that box for like 5 hours, dying to see what was inside, until I eventually just had to record and it cracked. And I just uploaded the recording. I felt bad, but I was like, nah, this is going to take forever. And literally an hour later after I cracked, it was up. So there you go. I might do the same thing for Premiere. I haven't decided yet.
Ooh, that's not a cheap one.
I know. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. Honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, so for the Flair, yeah, I opened up a box, broke it on camera so you guys can see the cards. Because a lot of times what's really hard to get excited about these cards, because you're going to see them on eBay first, and then you're going to cherry pick which ones you want, which is what I did with the Silver Surfer buybacks. So, I wanted you guys to see the thickness. I wanted you guys to see the quality, the gloss, kind of just see what comes in a box. What are your particular hits? I got very lucky. I scored a few inserts as well as a sketch. And that, a sketch is not guaranteed one per box.
No.
I didn't get an auto. I'm not sure what the ratio is on the autographs. They're nice in person though.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar to the sketches.
Like one or two, like one
I
or two
think,
boxes, something
yeah, I
like
think
that.
maybe one every 2 or 3 boxes, maybe
Yeah,
one in three, I think.
they're harder. They're harder to get. I mean, right now, looking at eBay, looking at breaking a box, and I don't know if you probably know this too, Ian. Um, I think the hits that everyone's going for really right now are those autos, maybe the Lucky Eight, and the buybacks. Maybe those
Yeah,
seem to be the ones that everyone's after. The pieces of Flair are really up there too because they're really nice. But in terms of rarity, I think those are the ones everybody wants, the ones with cereals. And there's a crazy thing happening right now, and I know you froze, so don't worry about it. Um, there's a crazy thing happening right now where you know um, people are not understanding the tier system, and because they don't understand the tier system, a lot of these box breaks, a lot of people are having to look up to see which cards are rare
yeah,
because they're not serial numbered. And that's kind of scary, but also good for third market because sometimes people can upload things that are not sure of the value, and you might be getting some like tier four or short prints. And the short prints are basically just cards that are shorter in prints or whatever, meaning that they're kind of follow the tier system, but they're just less of that
yeah,
particular type of card. So a lot of people don't really know what's really rare and what's not. So, you know, stay looking at that checklist. We'll put something in the tasty notes. I think we already have something in the group as well. Um, just to keep an eye on what's actually rare and what's not, because there are a lot of things that are going to come up, and I don't really quite sure know if people are following what the higher tiers are because they didn't number
yeah.
them, which is something I want to ask you about, Ian. What do you think about that? Having a tier system in a card catalog but no serial numbers.
I, I think it's really well. I don't have an issue with that. I think what's confusing everyone is that the subsets are all slightly different volumes in terms of the number of cards. So
Mm-hmm.
pieces of Flair is 37 cards, and it seems to be quite arbitrary that it's cards 30 through 37 that are the short print, the SSPs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's different on other subsets, and you've got different numbers, and
Yeah.
it's like I'm looking at it and I know there's a stained glass and there's a kind of a better quality version of that or a thicker version of that, maybe a photo variant, I'm not sure. So it's quite
Oh
confusing
yeah.
because you've got quite a lot of different things happening in the same set,
Yeah.
and the feedback I've seen from people is that everyone's kind of just a bit confused about it.
Yeah.
um
It's not very collector friendly. It
it
feels
Yeah,
yeah, it
it
feels
doesn't feel like
very
it hangs together as a
no.
set that
No, it doesn't.
complements itself.
No. It seems odd and it seems hard to follow. And I think some of that is going to kind of reappear again with EPAC achievements and the way this is going to
Mm.
break on Upper Deck EPAC. I don't know. I think something's strange happening there, to be honest. I don't know. For me, and this is my personal preference, nothing wrong with the product. The art in the product's amazing. Everything's actually really nice, and I saw it in person, and I was very impressed. And I
Yeah.
like a lot of the work they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, it makes me nervous to not have serial numbers on tier cards.
Mm.
I don't know why. I think it's mostly because I know Masterpieces is more premium set. And what I mean by premium, just for listeners to understand, I mean that it's 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 done in a way where you have very sharp guarantees of what is rare, what is not, because everything's numbered. With Flairium and Flares and all the inserts and stuff like that, the numbers are there and you can reference a list on the okay. I know I'm rambling on. Last thing before I give it back to you, Ian, I'm so sorry. Um
You carry on.
okay. So this is my problem with it. Let's say something is an SSP, which is super short print, right?
Hmm.
We don't know how much product is out there. We don't know if they're going to print more for EPAC. We
Yeah.
don't know if there's a finite number.
Yeah.
So when you have no numbers on the back of these cards, like on the Marvel Masterpieces, you have 1,999, right?
Hmm.
You know how many cards are out there, and they can't mess with that. They don't have duplicates of 1,999. They don't have two of those numbers. They might hold one or two cards back for replacements, but they'll do that for a very small number. So for these Flair things, they're not numbered, which means we have no idea how big the product is. We don't know how big the product will be. We don't know how long it will sit on ePack for. So you might have a super short print card and you're thinking, oh, there can only possibly be like 50 of these. And then ePack drops and you're like, oh, there's actually 150 of these, not just 50. Or whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
whatever that arbitrary
Yeah.
number might be. For me as a collector, I don't know, makes me kind of weary because I don't know what they're doing on their end, and they don't give numbers like that.
Mm. Mm.
I don't know.
I tell you,
That
I
kind of
tell you,
worries me.
I'll tell you the insert that's underwhelming everyone, and this is kind of a uniform thing, are the totemic teams with that kind
Yeah,
of
no one
wood
likes that.
effect that
Well, at
have
least I
that
don't
kind
like
of
that.
groove that's supposed to allow you to position them vertically in a stack, and they'll go together in a certain way because the groove on the kind of the cutout on the bottom is designed to go into the cutout of the card that sits below it, and they differ with each card, so it's not like you can fit them in. And they just, first of all, they've got them in a little stacking kind of up the totem pole. No collector would do that. No collector can
No collector
display
would do
that.
that. It's ridiculous. Do they not know where cards go? They know cards go into plastic sleeves, right?
Yeah,
They know cards goes into 9-page binders.
yeah,
Like those little grooves, who displays cards like that?
yeah,
Like that's insane. How are you going to do that?
yeah,
Like that makes sense for a product that's released to children
yeah,
if they're collecting packs and you're in a comic book store and you pick up a pack.
yeah.
You can't price Flair where it is and expect a kid to just pick up a random pack. There's no
Exactly.
comic book stores that are doing that. And if they are, I'd like to live close to one because they sound like a cool place. But
You and me both.
I don't know. I don't know where that exists. So that level of insert doesn't make sense to me. Like we were just talking about Fuxum.
Fuxum.
Fuxum. And we're talking about the stacks inserts.
Yeah,
Those make sense to me because you can stack them and put them in a magneto holder, and they will keep them all centered, and it actually looks really pretty displayed. It actually looks very good.
mm.
So when you do the totem thing, I kind of don't understand how am I supposed to store that and get the full effect aesthetically of that insert.
Yeah. So what that tells me is that there is a disconnect between, because don't get me wrong, I love that they're trying new things.
Me
I
too,
love the
100%,
innovation. But
100%.
in that innovation, you're creating something, and there's not been a thought to the end user experience, or at least not enough. It shows to me that there's not maybe quite an understanding of the audience that the cards are going to be selling to. I've not seen any positive feedback on those totemic teams at all. So it just feels a bit like a bum note. I have to be honest with you, I'm not massively sold on the artwork used on them either.
Me neither.
Just
No way.
just in terms of the style, I'm not
Well, the
criticizing the
texture throws
quality of them,
off
but
the
um,
texture of that wood on on the totem ones. They throw off the art.
mm,
And the art's not terrible. It really isn't. It's
mm.
very limited. It's only a bust. Like you look at the Marvel Premiere and you have those gold bust cards. Remember those?
I'm sorry. It reminds me of. Do you ever watch The Naked Gun?
Yes, Naked Gun.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you know the series that's based on Police Squad, which only actually ran
Yes.
for 6 episodes. There's one bit there where George Kennedy and Leslie Nielsen's characters burst into this dressing room backstage, and this rather shapely blonde woman turns to them and goes, "Is this a bust?" And Leslie Nielsen looks at her and says, "It's very impressive, ma'am, but that's not why we're here."
Those movies were great, man. Police
Always
Academy was
always
great.
cracks me up.
Oh
The
man,
movies are great, but if you haven't seen it, I implore you to go
I'm gonna
and
watch it.
look at Police Squad. It's only 6 episodes,
Police
and there is
Squad.
more inventiveness in those 6 short. They're less than half an hour
That's always
episodes
awesome.
than there is in all of the Naked Gun movies combined. Because the Naked Gun movies combined they kind of repeated a lot of the stuff,
A lot of the
a lot
gags.
of the
Yeah.
gags, and it was, but to be fair, by the time you got to the second and third one, I thought it was kind of losing
Yeah, it
its
was
way a little
definitely.
bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but
Yeah.
there's there's one scene in Police Squad where they say that they're going to get the tow truck to take it away, and they carry on doing the scene, and a giant tow drives past, pulling his car.
I can't believe it.
It's just like the most absurd
I love that. I
thing.
love that.
Um,
Oh man.
so yeah, is this a bust? Is very impressive, man, but that's not why we're here. So there were busts in Marvel Premiere,
Yeah.
a regular bust and a gold bust, and they are. I've got the Black Cat one.
Ah,
Premiere.
do they look good in person? I haven't seen one in person
They're
yet.
okay. They're kind of thick. They're kind of a cutout.
Okay.
And the gold one is nice.
Yeah.
I kind of I got the gold one, and I begrudged the fact that it was limited and therefore a high dollar, because it's like,
I get you.
there's nothing special about the artwork necessarily on it.
Yeah.
It's quite small. It feels like you're getting less because obviously it's not using the full space
The
that a
full
card would
space.
normally be.
Yeah.
It is very shiny.
It's very shiny. Shiny's always good. I mean, from what I've learned from being in this hobby, the number one thing collectors value, especially in Marvel trading cards, will always and most likely be the art, the
Yes.
original art. I don't think that will ever falter. I don't think that will ever change. I think that is why you can put higher price points on masterpieces. You can
Yes.
put higher price points on things like that because we value original art. We value seeing an artist's journey through doing, you know, when Jusco started at the 92, we value seeing that journey of 100 and something characters from one artist and seeing that interconnectedness and those kind of themes and things of that nature kind of persist across a whole set, which I think is what they did right with Flair, is that it is original artwork.
On the
It
base
varies
cards,
in a
yes,
nice
it's
way.
lovely. Yeah.
It's
There,
lovely. I think they
there's
nailed that.
yeah, there's stuff there that's not to my taste, but it
Right.
is all still top end.
It is different. And I like the Flareums too because I feel like the Flareums has like 4 or 5 or 6 artists, I
Yeah.
think. And that's kind of nice. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It feels like each artist had like a finite amount of characters to do.
Yeah.
So you get a range from pack to pack of
Mm.
different styles, and they
Yes,
might not be for everybody each one, but whatever. What's more important is that the original art is there, and we're not copy and pasting.
that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that for me will always be. I'll always be okay with that, which is why I ended up buying a box. I'll
Yeah.
always be okay with buying Flair. I'll always be okay buying a box like that, a one-off, because the
Mm.
art
Mm.
is original, and I'm not seeing a copy and paste thing. That I'm
No,
happy with,
it is good.
100%.
It
They
is good.
did right on that. I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
And the inventiveness in the set is there. It's great. It feels like this is the one where they're quite, I wouldn't say locked, but they've got a formula for Marvel Masterpieces 2018. For like, okay, that's artwork aside, which was astonishing. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
They kept, the preliminary art were a nice variation. I like that a lot. They were good.
They were
And
good.
Premiere does a few different things each time, but Premiere is a high price point, but the sketches are kind
Hmm.
of top end. They are very, very, very good quality sketches for the most part in Premiere. So you do that set, I think, appeals more to the people who go after sketches.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's the
couldn't,
highlight, I think.
yeah, sketches for me are kind of, they're great, but it doesn't kind of light my fires that much unless
Yeah.
it's of the character I like. But I
Yeah.
love seeing them, and I love seeing all the different styles and engaging with the artists that do them.
Hmm.
They're just, me as a collector, I kind of don't dig them. But I look at Premiere and I look at how wonderful the quality, the level of quality is on them,
Yeah.
and the bigger canvas you get with those double and triple panel cards, and
Yeah. I
you have it
mean,
on both sides as well.
yeah, it's nice depending on like a two panel, a three panel, or a
Yeah,
four
you
panel.
think about the 3 or 4 panels.
The
You
amount of
you're getting
space.
you're getting 3 or 4 times more original art for your
Well,
money
you're getting. I mean, if
compared
you
to a
hit
single
a,
trading card.
I mean, if you hit a Ian, or I forget how to say his name, the
It's Fred
collector card,
Ian. Yeah,
Fred Ian, who's
yeah.
just phenomenal. Really top three of the artists in the industry for cards right now. For
Lovely
any
guy.
any industry, lovely guy, awesome dude,
Lovely guy.
awesome,
I would
awesome.
say, Fred, good evening if you're listening.
Hey,
Uh,
buddy.
Bonjour, Fred. Comment ça va? Anyway, but for the fact that he's told me over Instagram that, or Messenger, whatever it is, that he would listen, but for the fact that his English isn't brilliant.
Oh yeah, poor
So
guy.
if anyone wants to translate this episode into French for us, we would appreciate that.
We would upload it with the
We would
translation
very much
attached.
appreciate that. But yeah, but
Um,
if you pull one of his,
you pull one of his, you're set. You
it's
got
like
a
the
two
golden
thousand
ticket in
dollar
Willy
card.
Wonka. Yeah,
You got a two thousand
if
dollar card,
you're in
hands
it
down.
for the value and the money side of things.
Right, no, right, which
Yeah.
I know I bring up a lot.
So
I feel
yeah,
bad.
but if I pulled one of
But
his cards, much as I would love it, if it wasn't Black Cat, I probably wouldn't keep it.
no, it's definitely that. For me, here's the thing. I love sketches. Absolutely adore the sketch card art. In fact, that was probably the thing that got me into it harder at the level that I am now with collecting, with trading cards. It was the sketches that got me really, really, really into it.
Yeah.
If I can be honest, it was definitely the sketches. That was the first thing I saw, and I was like, whoa. I looked at sketchographs, and I was like, are you kidding me? I can get a Ron Lim Silver Surfer on here. That's fantastic. I would love to have that. That'd be a cool piece for my collection. Plus, I can store it. That was the thing too, right? I would love to get original art and be a collector of original art, but it's expensive. It's hard to frame. It's hard to maintain. It's hard to be safe. You spend that kind of money on original art. You got to store it correctly. There's a lot of things that are attached to that. With a sketch card, I can buy a magnetic case holder, keep the temperature okay, and I'm solid. Keep it out of light, and it's good for a long, long, long time. So for me, that was a move where I could go from wanting to collect original art to having original art.
Yeah.
And for me, that was the sketches. But I'm the same way too, right? Like the most disappointing thing about a box of cards for me as a collector is a bad, and I shouldn't say this, but it's a sketch card that I'm not really into. I really always want to pull high quality sketch cards. That's the thing I look for in a
Yeah.
set. Not to
Yeah.
necessarily sell, because I have a lot of different sketch cards of different characters, not only the Surfer.
Oh wow,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, I do. I don't show them often, but I have a few.
They'd be a little off brand for you, to be fair.
Yeah, just a little off brand. I should actually do the the what's it
Pass the
called?
baton.
Pass the baton to on the group. I'll do one today. But I do one-offs, so I'll collect like I just recently, which I hope gets shipped soon. Just bought an Alex Margot Mystique
Oh, Alex Magno.
Magnum. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Just got a Mystique that I've been looking at for a year on sketchcollectors.com, and finally got into contact with the collector, and he sold me the piece very kindly. Super awesome dude, super awesome dude, and sold me the piece, and that's my one-off for Mystique. Like I'll never buy another Mystique sketch card because
Yeah.
that's the one I'm absolutely in love with, and that's how I do it for me as a collector. Sometimes I'll do a 9-page, like I'm working on a 3 card or a 9-page character set. So like for Spot, which is the Spider-Man villain,
Yeah.
I'll probably do a 9-page of him just because I really like the aesthetic and I think the character's kind of kooky and fun. So I'll do a 9-card sketch card page.
Yeah.
for
Someone
that
was on some
character.
good weed when they fought him up.
Yeah, I know. Pretty
Yeah.
high stuff.
Yeah.
pretty cool stuff.
But did he came out of Spectacular Spider-Man? I'm
Yes.
thinking issue 80
Yeah, with Black
something.
Cat actually.
Yeah,
funny
that's right.
enough.
That's right. I remember
Yeah,
the cover.
Kingpin's on the yeah.
And wasn't he on issue 100 cover as well, Spectacular Spider-Man? He was in it for a little bit.
Yeah,
And the
he
last time
might
I
have been
remember
that
seeing him-
yellow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And the last time I remember seeing him, I've got the issues over there actually. The last time I remember seeing him was one of the reboots of Daredevil, where they went to
Oh.
issue 1, back to issue 1 for a couple of times, and it was Mark Waid's. I mean, he was in issue 1 of that fighting Daredevil, which ended with Captain America. I've got that issue as well. It's the last time I saw him. Not to say he's been in stuff
No,
since,
he's a
but
pretty obscure character.
he is pretty obscure. But I thought it was great that they pulled him back just for that
Yeah.
one episode, one issue of Daredevil, and it was a different artist on Daredevil, and that's right. It was the new creative team on Daredevil
Mm.
after the really long run of Ed Brubaker, I'm tempted to say, because it was
Hmm.
Bendis for a while, and then it was Brubaker. Yeah, and it was that run that had started with Kevin Smith that kind of
Oh.
ended after about 120 issues. In fact, it renumbered to 500, so it went back to the volume one numbering, and then it stopped, and then it relaunched Mark Waid, and yeah, the first issue of that relaunch was Spot,
Oh, that's so funny.
which was, yeah, it was just a fun issue, and the artwork was different, and they, because it had got quite gritty and
Yeah,
quite
yeah, yeah.
dark.
Well, yeah, the spot's been drawn in kind of a gritty way, which has been really cool for me as a collector. I mean, that's a fun thing for anyone who's looking to get into sketch cards and you want a small collection. Pick an obscure character. They get drawn by artists. They're liked by artists because the artist is not drawing the same
Yes.
5 main characters over and over again.
Oh, they
And
like the deep cuts. It's one
yeah,
thing
they love
about
the
talking
deep
to these
cuts.
artists online and on interviews. An
Yeah.
artist likes to throw a deep cut in there for the fans.
Oh yeah, yeah. And those, I mean, for me, those sketches are always really kind of for me, I think I get the most giddy out of seeing like some random character I don't know drawn really well in a
Yeah,
cool new style,
yeah,
and I'm just like, oh wow, okay, that's really cool. Like, I don't know, I always find it really interesting and really awesome to see artists do that, and
yeah.
I
I do.
always think that's a really
I
underappreciated part
do.
of the hobby. Yeah.
I think there's a wonderful niche character collecting group, Matthew DeMars, who collects Shanda the She Devil.
That's a great character to collect. You gotta beat that. That's a great character to collect. I've seen his collection. He sick stuff, man. And then Tony, oh man, the artist
Tony
Perna.
Perna.
Perna. It is Perna.
Perna, yeah.
Okay, good.
Perna, yeah.
Yeah, his wife Elaine Perna
Mm.
actually collects sketch cards too.
And
And
and creates some of the
oh
most
yeah, she's an
astonishing
artist.
ones.
I mean, she's an
Tony,
amazing
Tony,
artist.
and Elaine. I mean,
Yeah, are
the biggest
godsends.
dream team since Tim and Greg Hildebrand.
100%.
They are Tony, Elaine. Good evening. I hope you listen. I really hope you do. You guys are absolutely more than welcome to
Phenomenal.
come onto this podcast at any
Ah,
time and talk about whatever you want to, because I've been a long time fan of your work.
same.
I own work from both of you.
I got a Silver
Um,
Surfer AP from Tony. I got a
yeah,
new one from Elaine.
yeah. I got a black cat from, well, I didn't get it from Tony. I got it off eBay, but it had originally been in pack inserted in Marvel Masterpieces 2007, I think, or 2008.
Ah, I
And it was a
love that.
black and white one, and then he'd coloured it aftermarket. So what that means for those
Whoa.
who don't know is that aftermarket means that something's been added to or changed on a card post original release. And so the original artist will go back and make a change to it. And I think it's signed on the back when he did that. So it was, it was one that he did, and I think I've posted it and tagged him in it, and he remembers doing it. So it's
Ah,
been coloured as well, and
that's
it's
really
just a
dope.
lovely black cat card. And
That's so good.
I've got one from Elaine as well. So I've got a black cat from both of them. So yeah, they're wonderful cards. Anyway, sorry, you brought them up,
No,
and
no,
we
yeah.
suddenly gushed admiration all over their collective
Whatever. I
face,
mean,
neck, and
that's,
chest.
we're collectors and we really enjoy look, we do gush. And I've seen a comment or two, but we do gush and we gush for very good reasons. We appreciate the work that they put into it.
Yeah,
A lot of sketch card artists don't get paid good money. Well, I mean, whatever the case may be, and that's just the truth. You know what I mean? And some of these sketch card artists turn out amazing, amazing artwork,
mm,
and they should be gushed over. And we definitely appreciate them taking the time to do extra work when sometimes they're not compensated as well as the work is. Some of these pieces are like they're like $300 worth of a really good head sketch and like really good
absolutely,
quality pieces that you would get at a
absolutely,
convention that you would pay even
absolutely.
more with a convention entrance fee. So yeah, I am gonna gush, and I'm gonna gush for good reason. They're great artists, and Elaine. Elaine has a really high quality collection of Rogue, and she actually has a character that I've just started gushing over. Lind- Lilandra.
Oh,
Lilandra?
Leandra.
Lilandra. Sorry, I have
I
a
think it's pronounced Leandra, but yeah.
Leandra. I have a speech impediment for the listeners to know, and a pretty bad dyslexia. So sometimes it's hard for me to remember how words sound. So sorry, apologies to the listeners for that. Landra, I've been obsessed with her recently. I saw her buyback that Julie did for, well, it's actually just part of the set, the Fuxum set,
Yeah.
and the buyback that's on there. I've been just
Fuxum.
obsessed with
Yeah.
Fuxum, and I've been just obsessed with that card and looking at that character. I love the aesthetic. No coincidence that she's silver and chrome. So no coincidence there. I'm very very focused. But I just really like the aesthetic of that card. So I was gonna get that card plus like a one-off sketch card of hers. And I'm looking on comicartfans.com, which is a brilliant site that everyone should really check out. And there it is. She has all of them. She has her own little collection of that character, and they're so cool.
Wow.
And she did a great job. And
I
she's
need to check
picking.
that out.
No, she has a real. It's really cool to see all of the ones that she kind of like that she's curated over time, and she has really good taste. So they're all
And
quality.
that's the word. That's the word. I was about to drop that word, but you got there first. Is
Sorry.
it's no, it's fine. It's fine. It's cool because we're obviously thinking along the same lines. An artist who collects sketch cards by other artists, and just seeing that kind of lens and that mentality and that creative person curating a collection of this type of art from other artists, I think that would be really interesting to see, because I don't know of any other artists that we've seen posting on group who also collect sketch cards or art by other artists, that at
I,
least that they've mentioned.
that they've mentioned. Yeah, I'm sure some of
That's
them.
an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm sure, some of them are, I mean, what I would be doing as an artist, and I've gotten the hint of from other collectors, from other artists who've talked about this stuff just in passing. I think, what they're doing is they're contacting those artists and they're being like, "You want to trade? I'll do you a sketch
Yeah,
card, you do me a sketch card, and we'll swap." And I mean, that's the dream. That's a
nice.
crazy fun thing to experience, and a nice little collection to hallmark to mark your participation and your however long you're in this profession or that part of
Yeah,
your career for. It's a nice little marker for that,
I think
um,
so, definitely.
which I think is really cool. And I don't know, if I've started noticing some of those collections as well, and they're extremely very well curated. They're very nice
Mm,
pieces. Very nice
good,
pieces.
good. We've kind of gone down a rabbit hole of sketch cards,
Yes,
which
we
is
have. Sorry,
brilliant. But
guys.
it's no, it's absolutely fine. Um, it's a good segue into one other thing I just kind of want to talk about this week. Is conduct, collector conduct, and the reason I bring that up is that one of the interesting things about being in a position that we are, where we're admins on a couple of Facebook groups where people interact with each other, where they interact with artists, where they may be doing some trades with each other, or they maybe just be, whatever the case may be. Is sometimes it doesn't, everyone's human, everyone's people, and sometimes things don't go quite as smoothly. Where that often happens is where someone's maybe not being quite as respectful, or just playing the game in a way that's just considerate and fair to other collectors. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Good. So there's a couple of examples, and this is not me. I've got to be careful here, because often people will come to me, and I'm sure yourself, via direct message, where
Yeah.
we're in positions of moderation in the group, and they're airing a grievance, because something's maybe not quite gone quite as well, or they maybe just want some advice on how to deal with a certain situation.
Right. Or they
Um,
see someone else have a bad experience
yeah,
and they themselves are just trying to look out for their friend collector who, for whatever reason doesn't want to stir up any attention in that
yeah,
regard because, understandable.
which is
And
cool.
we get messages like that too, yeah.
We get messages like that too. The interesting thing is, very occasionally, and where it, in fact, almost to a penny, where it falls over, and it does happen occasionally. Sometimes people get a bit too pissed off and a bit too angry, and for whatever reason, there's no resolution to the situation, and they may post something that they maybe wouldn't have done if they were less angry. And they decide for whatever reason to leave our community and go off, and they're still in the hobby, but they're elsewhere doing things. And I get that. Not everyone's going to get along all of the time, as the entirety of human history will tell anyone. But where that happens, my perception is where that person has come to me with an expectation that while I'm an admin in the group and I set it up, I A, can't speak for everyone, and B, I can't police the hobby, and nor should 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 I necessarily expect to. I'll obviously, I'll give guidance and advice to people who kind of say, I'm a bit cheesed off because this person's done this, I just need to vent a little bit, or what would you suggest I do? And that's absolutely cool in the gang.
Yeah.
But the times where it's gone south and someone has, to all intents and purposes, rage quit, is where there's an expectation. So what are you going to do about it? And it's like, I can't.
There's nothing to
Yeah,
do about
exactly.
it, man.
I can't
We're
force
not.
another human being
No,
to
the group
do
is
something
there.
in a certain
No, we're
way.
as moderators of this group, and Ian, president, founder, who did all this amazing work, and me, who's coming along for the ride and trying to contribute as much as
Hey,
possible.
mate, it's 50-50 at this point.
It's for and here's the thing, guys, and ladies, I've been cheesed over more times than enough.
I'm sorry.
I've
gone cheesed over.
cheesed over.
That
I don't
sounds
know.
like something you
I'm
see in a
putting it out there.
70s porn.
Oh,
Yeah,
all
cheese
right.
over
I'm
me,
keeping
big
it
boy.
now. Now it's even better.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. That's good. I've suddenly got this Barry White music playing in the background. Like,
My shag carpet walls.
Cheese over
Got a
me, big
fluffer.
boy. Sorry.
I've definitely been. I was gonna say screwed over, but that's just actually as worse.
Yeah,
It's
don't
just
do
as
that.
bad, isn't it? It
Yeah.
doesn't work either.
Yeah. Glass
Yeah,
coffee table.
deals have gone bad for me, and I've lost out on things that I really wanted. That's just a fact, and I'm sure Ian's had the same experience.
Yeah. Sometimes you
You
can't
know,
come to an agreement with someone.
sometimes you can't come to agreement with someone.
They
Sometimes you
might
shouldn't
have a
deal with
number
certain
in their
people.
head that you don't want to pay, or whatever it may be. Yeah,
Look,
sometimes you can't do it.
people
That's fine.
people will value their cards on different understandings of what they want out of the deal.
Yeah.
You have to understand some of these people are breaking so much product that if they don't sell you the card that they perceive as their most expensive card for the price they want to sell you for, they're not recuperating. And their whole purpose for selling the card is to recuperate. Some people don't sell. Some people don't trade. Some people don't want to participate in that whole section of this hobby. That's just the way it is. I think, there are certain things you should and should not do that are obvious. Don't commission work from someone and then not pay them. Don't, offer something for trade and say, oh, sorry, I don't know where it went. I gave it to somebody else when you're in the middle of negotiating or trading with someone else. Just basic human kindness, in terms of empathy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There are people on the end of this line, and, just a word to the wise. We are all connected to each other. You
Yeah.
have no idea.
Yeah. It's too small a hobby to
It's
basically
way too small.
do stuff that might bite not just you but someone else on the arse further down the road.
Honestly, you screw someone over, everyone knows who you
Yeah.
are.
It's the whole
That's
Bill
a
and Ted
fact.
thing. It's the whole Bill and Ted thing. Be excellent to each other.
Be excellent.
Be excellent
That's it.
one another, I think it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a
No, it'd
long
be
time.
excellent. No,
So,
I mean it's
yeah.
true. I mean, and also here's the second part of all this. Some of these pieces, especially when you start getting into the one of ones, not everybody can have it all.
Yeah.
Not everyone can have every one of one. You're not gonna. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
There are some pieces you just will not be able to
Yeah.
put your hands on. Sometimes you got to be happy with what you got too.
Mm.
You know, sometimes you got to look around and be like,
Yeah.
and I guarantee you, if you want someone from someone else's collection and they're being too difficult, whatever the case may be, and they're not selling to you, I guarantee you there's someone out there who wants something out of your collection that you're not selling.
Absolutely.
And that's just the logic to remember. You know, you have something that someone else wants too.
Yeah, exactly. So there's just basically been a few things over the last couple of weeks where I just wanted to say, one of the reasons I put the hashtag one hobby onto all my posts now, and I put it's on this podcast, and I try and use it wherever I can, and it's maybe a little bit trite because, quite frankly, we're not all going to get along, and we do play in different sandpits, but we are still still in the same hobby. So, and I, adore anyone who may have, for whatever reason, chosen to leave the communities that we foster and go and be an active member in another one. The door is open for those guys and girls if they want to they want to come back. It's it's churlish to say, see ya, I'm never gonna don't darken my
no
door
one
ever
wants
again,
that.
because it's
No one
just
wants that.
unless, quite frankly, and this is my number one rule in both groups, and you're going to have to get that comedy bleep back for this bit.
Damn.
But I think
All
my
right.
number one. No, we'll find a new one. We'll find a new one.
I want to freshen it up.
We will. We will. I think my number one rule in both groups, I think I say it slightly nicer, actually, because Facebook wouldn't allow me to use the word. But my number one rule in both groups is don't be a...
That's such a good rule.
Just, and I will back that up by saying something else, is everyone is fighting their own battles. Try not to be a... Seriously. So you can bleep. You will need to bleep those out. Otherwise, iTunes will put those.
Even that's like my favorite cuss word.
It is my favorite cuss word.
It's my favorite. It's one of the best.
Some people absolutely loathe that word, and they find it to be deeply offensive, or they find it to be just a little bit too far.
Yeah, I can see that.
And to those people, I say, shut up. But I find it to be the Swiss Army knife for swear words. It's useful
it is
in
the
almost
Swiss Army
every
knife.
single situation.
Well, the one I'm stealing
plus
from...
I'm English.
Well, okay, so be fair. So the one I steal from you, from the English that I'm obsessed with right now, is twat. Like, don't be a twat. I don't know why.
Twat isn't a swear word. It's not even really a curse word.
No, that blows my mind. Are you serious?
No, you're thinking of twat.
Twat.
Yeah. So basically,
shit.
I think I actually say on the first group rule is don't be a twat. I think that's actually what I say. There is a word called twat, TWOT.
I didn't even know that was a word.
But
what the hell?
is something else that escapes me at the moment.
Twat.
It's still.
How do you spell the bad one?
Still, well, it's not even really that bad, but it is twat.
I've been living a lie.
Yeah,
I've been living a lie.
That's right. Haven't we all, dear? Haven't we all? We spend our time talking about and collecting pieces of cardboard. So
it's fair.
We're all in denial in some way. Anyway, this is our therapy. This is our therapy.
This is it.
And that's what I like to. You know what? Facebook have made it so difficult to actually find the group rules now. So it's not surprising everyone keeps breaking. I'm being silly. Yeah, number one rule in MCCW: don't be a twat.
Damn it!
So there we go.
I didn't even realize that wasn't that bad.
Yeah, we've gotten really sweary in the last 5 minutes. It brings it out of us. All this stuff about collecting.
I don't know if you're going to hear any of this conversation.
No. I think it's important to say this sort of stuff. I kind of don't want elephants in the room in that respect. But the second rule is conduct: be respectful, and that's kind of what I wanted. There's a number of things that people have kind of maybe aired grievances over, and there's one thing that kind of flared up a little bit. And I'm not going to point fingers or mention names, but I've listed them. Icing people. Now that's an EPAC specific thing, but it ties very much into paying it backwards as well as paying forwards. So if someone sent you a trade offer on EPACs and you don't, or if you send a trade offer to someone and they don't respond at all, you have a 24-hour period in which point that trade then expires. Okay. Now I often don't respond in the first 12 hours. I'll put that out there now for those who might have phrased it. Partly because of time zones. I often wake up and I view it and it's already 4 hours in and I'm half asleep. So I might not come back to it until the middle of the day, in which case it's over 12 hours through. And that collector may have actually then gone in and voided it. Or they've done another trade, because it can be automatically voided if you trade the cards that were offered to that trade to someone else. It automatically voids it. So it doesn't always happen. But if people don't respond at all, is icing people. So I just think there's so many people on EPACs who simply do that. They just ice people. And yet they've got some stuff that a lot of people need. So maybe they get a lot of approaches for it, which is okay and which is fair enough. However, this is turning into a slight pet peeve one, but I'm going to go with it because I think it's important to say. If it's not available for trade, lock it. Don't have it on view. It's quite that simple. Okay. If it is available for trade, then it's there. But the flip side to that is and it's actually not that easy to do on EPACs. It's in there as a functionality thing, but it's quite difficult to search on it. I will usually only send a trade offer to someone I don't know. I will never do that without first checking their wish list to see what they want.
Oh, wow. That's better.
Yeah, because otherwise you don't know what they want. If I do end up making an approach, I will write a comment on the trade and say, I don't know if we can do this, but I really need this. Anything unlocked. And so it's basically conduct, because otherwise there is, and this is something that I think EPACs would be really good to do. Imagine if you had just a little 50-word profile box with your user that said actually what you're after
for your profile.
Just to show
your
small. Just to say, small. I'm after this. Anything unlocked is for trade. Wish list is current.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is what I would say.
Yeah, because there are collectors out there who maybe don't know about the locked feature and maybe are just never interested in trading.
Yeah.
But having that kind of clarification in terms of the profile, that'd be awesome.
I think so.
Yeah, that's great. No, it's a great idea.
Because there's guys in the group who go after stuff and they say, oh, just no one's getting back to me.
It's true though. Like, people don't get back to you.
And then it may be someone that collector has helped out a number of times in the past. And that's where I bring up the not paying it backwards thing. So I just think it's not, even just respond. Just respond and say, look, I'm kind of saving it for this, or, time is not good right now because I'm trying to negotiate something else over here, or actually I just don't really want to do that at the moment, sorry, or I'm just too busy, because you might be actually doing real world stuff like going on holiday, or you might be really busy at work or something like that. So I get it.
Yeah.
So kind of an out of office.
Yeah.
An autoresponder would be really good.
Yeah, and if you don't feel like doing those auto responses and all that stuff, just lock it.
Exactly. So
you won't be pestered
there's a
at all.
number of really small improvements that I think EPAC could make just in terms of the communication there that I think would just help, because the functionality is great, but it's got quite a lot of rough edges and sharp corners. So I think that doesn't make it easy for people.
User interface that would have to be updated, and I think you can place some, just like things we do in the group. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like buying things stays in the PMs, stays in the comments. You know what I mean? Like that's ingenious, because when you look at other groups, you're looking at something you might want, which I think would just happen to us, right, Ian? We were looking at that issue, and you're thinking, oh, it's still available. And it's already been gone, but the person didn't put sold, they didn't do it in comments, and you're staring at something you could possibly want or make an offer for, or the person on the other end could be making you an offer to bounce off an offer on somby else in PM.
I know.
There's a whole reasoning behind
there's a whole reasoning behind it. I mean, for trades, if you're doing a trade and there's no money being exchanged, then I kind of say, okay, fair enough, go to comments because we don't want to see all the back and forth on that. But
Yeah.
if you're making a sale and something does go south with it,
We all
then
know.
there's a clear audit of
Right.
comments on there, which is why I always say to people, if you do a sales post, don't delete it,
Yeah.
because people
That's
have got
smart.
180 days to to do a PayPal claim. So
Oh
um,
yeah.
PayPal will always usually side on the buyer, certainly if it's eBay
Yeah.
related. So as a seller, and I get that it's difficult, and I get not a lot of people get it, and some people post on there and they'll say, "Oh yeah, just PM me," and I'll be like, straight away, I'll be like, "No, don't," because it's for everyone's better experience that you can
Mm-hmm.
see if it's still available, and B, it's actually it's for your protection as much as anyone else's, and
Yeah.
people really struggle with that, which surprises me because it's something that I've taken from I haven't made that up. It's come from the
No.
video. It's come from the retro video game trading community on Facebook in the UK, and it's there for a reason. They're high value items. They're sought after items. They're collectibles. Condition is very important.
Mm-hmm.
All the tenets we apply to card collecting, admittedly, the one of ones kind of don't really exist unless it's point of sale displays from shops seem to be pretty rare. All those kiosks you used to get with PlayStations and Xboxes in shops, they're pretty rare things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people stay on comments, and it's helped so many admins in those groups. If there is an issue, and you do see it in those groups, you do see people suddenly start blocking other people and no goods arrive, and then at least if you can go back to but you might not be able to fully resolve the situation, but at least you can help
Mm-hmm. At least we can
as an
do
admin.
something about
Yeah,
it at that point.
exactly, which is why I
Because
send it. And I think people probably get a bit cheesed off me jumping on them for it. It's like, guys, it's pretty clear. It's in the group rules. Whether you read them or not, you did agree to them, and it's one of those. It's one I didn't mean to be having a sounding board,
it's a rule
but it's
that's
just,
safe for
but
everybody,
it
though.
is
It's not
just
like
trying to make it a safe space. It's just
yeah.
trying to
It's
make it
just
a group
making us
where you can
right.
do it. And we are not a BST group, a buy
No.
sell trade group primarily. We're not primarily that. Yes, you can do that, and yes, they're called trading cards, and I'm happy for people to do that on group, which is obviously people will do that, and I'd say maybe you know 30 to 50% of the posts are trade or sales related, but there's also a fair amount of in search of, and there's also a fair amount of people just showing off their work as an artist or showing
Mm-hmm.
off their new pulls or mail calls as collectors. So it's just about seeing what's out there, showing off stuff, and
Yeah.
maybe doing some trades and sales. So it's not just for selling stuff. Is basically what I'm trying
I
to
think the
say.
groups has a really good balance for
I
that
think it
too.
does. I think it does. I think
I
it
don't think
really does.
there's ever
Yeah.
been a problem with that.
Yeah, you can always the people where it becomes an issue is where people join and they tick all the boxes and then they post something for sale or they spam the group, and
Yeah, of course, yeah,
they're
but
gone pretty
yeah,
quick.
we
Um,
get rid of that pretty fast.
but it's and then something that maybe is a bit trickier is that if I'm selling something, and it doesn't happen often, but if I'm selling something, I'm quite happy to do a payment plan for people. One or two free installments. That's absolutely
Yeah.
fine. I get that you might want to do that as long as and what I say to people there is just communicate. Just have clear expectations as to when you're going to get the next payment, and keep
Yep.
talking to each other. And in fact, everything can be resolved pretty much all the
It really
time
can.
if people just communicate with each other, which is where artists who may be waiting on approvals or may have a backlog of work, just keep the buyer updated. And the same goes for buyers and collectors. Don't commission something from an artist and then not pay them
That's
or delay
crazy
paying them.
to get them to do work and then
Had
not
an
pay.
incident of that recently. It's just the most disrespectful thing to do.
Yeah.
You wouldn't if you I guarantee especially if you're in America where car culture is essential, you might not be doing public transport. You wouldn't go to the garage and expect to take your car away without paying.
Hmm. No, and to be honest, collectors who do that kind of weird stuff or who have done that stuff, I promise you that artist knows almost every other artist in the sketch card community.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, and you're blacklisted.
And the
I don't
job's
mean
up
I'm
to
not even
speed.
playing
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they
Yeah.
know who you are, and they're very wary
Yeah.
to deal with you.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, and sometimes I have people, collectors, who tell me, it's like, man, you said you commissioned from this artist. I've tried to contact them like 15, 20 times. They're not responding. I'm like, then they know something or they're busy,
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
hit me up real quick.
Yeah.
And that's because, you know, there's no tarnish to my name. And you want to be that collector. Don't
Yeah.
let any tarnish get on your name, because it will
Exactly.
make this hobby 10 times harder.
Exactly. And that ties into the fact that whether you're playing in that sandpit or whether you're in our group or whether you're on Blowout, all great places to hang out and do stuff and talk to other
Yeah.
collectors. It is a small world, and
Yeah. We know everybody in every other group. We know
exactly.
everyone
Yeah.
on Blowout.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
deal with people on Blowout still, and in other groups as well.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
gotta remain neutral, man.
yeah,
That, and
exactly,
that's really the thing to do.
exactly.
And that's the other thing about playing it smart too, which is I'm sure is the last part of this conversation, because it's going on. If you do get cheesed over, um, you know, making a big spectacle about it and all that kind of stuff, not usually the best idea.
Yeah, don't
Let
light a torch.
people know. People know what happened. People, are aware,
Mm,
and that will always play in your benefit. You
mm.
don't want to be the person who, makes a huge spectacle out of something,
Yeah,
because, and that you're only going to get drama, drama, drama.
exactly.
Sometimes you got to know the collectors and
Yeah,
play it smart.
yeah. Well, I mean, what I would say is, type something, but don't post it.
Right.
So type
Just let
something
it
in
sit there
notes.
for an hour.
Just let it sit there. It's just the whole thing about emails. It's the advice on that is the same for putting comments or putting a fresh post on Facebook. Write it, go away and look at it the next day.
Yep.
Don't send. Don't post. Don't send
No.
when you're running a high temperature, which is kind of the equivalent of. Did you ever watch Seinfeld?
Yes.
When Kramer enters a room.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be Kramer coming into group. I think is probably where we'll leave that.
Perfect.
Because
That's the
I
best
absolutely
place.
love Seinfeld. Listen, guys, it was just something that we had a week where a number of relatively small things happened, but they all happened kind of at the same time. And then we had the thing with losing the video with Simone. It was just one of those weeks where it just much as
A lot
there
of
was
things came
joyous
up.
stuff happening and really positive stuff happening, it just felt like everyone was getting a bit nuts. It was like it was full moon out there. So be excellent to each other. Don't be Kramer. And I'll say it again, as I said last week, never eat where you eat.
Yeah, seriously.
And you can get the comedy bleep back in for that.
Yeah, perfect.
Cool. All right, Norrin, this has been absolutely gorgeous. Wham,
Always.
pam, pow. I promised that I would big up Ray Largo because I couldn't find his contact deets and where he kind of lives in his digital space. Ray has a Twitter feed at Ray Largo Art, RAYLAGO Art, and coincidentally, that's also the name of his website, raylargoart.com. So do go check him out. I did the intro on last week's episode, and stunning dude. And I think
Really
today,
awesome.
on today's intro, I'm thinking that Mr. Greg Hildebrandt was heard at the top of this episode because
It
we've
was.
used his. So Greg, thank you for doing that. I
So
know
kind.
it was a bit of a technical challenge for you and your fellow colleagues there over at Spiderweb Art, which is Greg's Instagram handle and indeed the name of his kind of studio.
Crazy good stuff on that website,
Yeah.
everyone.
So
You need to go check that out.
You really do, and
It's super important.
Not just Greg there. There's a number of other crazy,
amazing artists.
artistic people hanging out at Spiderweb Arts. So
Yeah.
there was I think of him today, and this is why I think it's appropriate to use. I saw an Instagram post this morning where Greg It was absolutely brilliant. In fact, I'm going to find it right now. It was basically Greg standing up at at his palette, if you like, painting, and he was stood there, and he was looking pretty dapper. He was like wearing, a jacket, and he just looked really, really good. Bear with me. Google has also corrected spiderweb art to spiderweb, and so of course I'm getting all sorts of stuff when I'm trying to look this up. So let me
Yeah.
be in 5 miles an hour in the slow lane. So come on, there we go. So he stood there, and he's in a shirt and tie and jacket, and he's painting a lady who's, to be fair, not got much in the way of clothing on, but it's an astonishing piece. And he's got the goatee beard going on. He's got his white hair. He kind of looks like illegitimate love child of Gandalf, but that's meant in a nice way. And all the post says: commercial artists sit down, fine artists stand.
Oh, no way. That's the
Hashtag
best.
damn fine artist. And I'm like, mic drop right there. And
That is the
that
dopest post.
is where I want to leave this episode.
Okay,
Greg
I'm
Hildebrand,
looking
thank you
that
very
up.
much, sir. Thank you, Gene, as well, for being the intermediary on making that happen. I've said it before, you know it. Greg, you're always welcome. Please come and talk.
Greg, seriously, awesome.
All right. Thank you, Norrin. It's been emotional.
Thank you, my friend.
Take care, folks.
Enjoy collecting, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast. You can subscribe via our home on anchor.fm/MCCP. Leave us a message via that link with questions, comments, or just to say hi, and we may even play on the show. We'll also be on iTunes and most other main podcast platforms soon. On Facebook, you can find Marvel Card Collectors Worldwide by searching MCCW, and Marvel Masterpieces Collectors by searching MMC. On Instagram, find us at MMCollectors and at SketchCardHive. The great music we use is called Rocket Power by Kevin MacLeod. Thanks to the collectors, artists, and creators who support the Marvel Cards Fan Collective. We'll see you next time, and remember, it's a small hobby, but a fun one. Make mine Marvel, and enjoy collecting.
Bonus round.
So we did have a question in from Kevin St. Jack. Good evening, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Who asked us, Norrin, hit me with it.
He asks, what's API and GPA mean during the discussion about market value and book value?
Good. So this is the follow-up. I can't remember what episode it was now, but we haven't dropped the episode on investment and values yet. But
No.
the following week, we talked about, we mentioned book value and API. So I think API came up in context of having a price guide that would draw live information from another system. So it would read eBay solds, for example, or it would pull in COMC sold values, so that it would be a truer reflection of what was happening in the market, as opposed to a fixed printed thing which would be out of date before it was even printed. So API, I think it stands for Automated Program Interface, and it's where one system talks to another system. So a really good example is if you're booking airline tickets, and you go on to your favorite travel site, so be it Expedia or be it hotels.com or something like that. And when you do so, you can enter the dates that you want to fly or the dates that you want to stay in a hotel, and it will go off and it will pull the information in for you. You can do the same thing in separate browser windows on Expedia and hotels.com, and both of them are talking to the same central system of availability and pricing, and they do so via an API, so they're connected. Does that make sense to you, Norrin?
100%. That does
Brilliant.
make sense. I'm actually typing it to him now too.
So that's what that means. So Kevin, it will be answered. You'll just have to wait a week. The other part of it, GPA, is gross point average. So it's taken from sports. I believe it's a baseball thing, where you are looking at the average stats of how something's selling, basically. So I know with slabbed comics, in a lot of the comic groups I'm in, where people are talking about those, they go on and talk about GPA. So I think there is a system in play, and because I'm not plugged into the slabbed comics world, because I'm a raw comics guy, there is a system that tracks the selling values.
Yeah, it's actually in CGC.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's it.
so basically you can see. So like the reason you would do that and look at the average is so you can understand that. Let's say you want to buy 5.5 CGC book.
Yeah. And
You
CGC
can know
is the company that do this
right comic
encapsulation
rated
comic book. Yeah.
right.
Which means you can never read it again, and it will, in theory, always stay that in that condition.
If you haven't been hearing us lately, you can tell Ian doesn't like CGC. He's very much against it.
It's not that I don't like it. It's just not my
It's just not his thing.
Yeah, it's
No,
just
I'm just joking around. I'm just messing around.
yeah.
No, yeah, but it's true, right? It's just sealed forever. It's basically what you're actually doing is you're sealing off the value of
Yeah.
that book.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's kind of like the investment side of it. Which eventually we'll have an episode where we're talking about graded cards, and or if we've already talked about it briefly, that's something that worries about, that's something different about graded cards, because for a card, you don't need to open it up. You flip back and
That's right.
forth, you get both sides. Seems to make more sense for cards.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so let's say you're buying a 5.5. I'll just pull a comic book out of the air. Fantastic Four 48. Just,
Good
just
choice,
off
sir.
the top of my head.
I wonder
So
why.
I wonder why. Strange. And let's say you're looking at a 5.5. You can see what they are on eBay
Yeah.
and say, okay, increased because the MC maybe this would usually go really high, but for some reason no one's bidding on this book. Let's go ahead and jump on this book now. And that's the good thing about knowing the average. A lot of people tend to do averages by looking at eBay sold listings for cards. And that came really into play when Marvel Masterpiece 2016 came out.
Yeah.
People were very much paying close attention to those prices. And that's kind of when the talk of investment started coming up too, I think, for cards. I think that's why the conversation has kind of started brewing now.
So
But
we've
yeah.
got an episode where we talk about all that.
Right,
which
we'll
is
get
coming
into
up.
it, yeah.
So Kevin, we'll give you a nudge when that's about to drop.
You got it, buddy.